Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So, now we are going to start our new topic regarding the drugs acting on respiratory system. Out of which this is the obstructive pulmonary disease, that is the drugs used in those pulmonary diseases in which obstruction is being felt while the air is flowing through the air passages. These may be two types, acute and chronic in nature, but we are going to discuss with the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, commonly abbreviated as COPDs. And one of the most important disease which we are going to discuss, actually, that is bronchial asthma. So mainly we are going to discuss with the drugs useful in the bronchial asthma. Bronchial asthma, remember, first thing is it's a chronic inflammatory disorder. It's a chronic problem and inflammation is there. Two things. And due to this chronic inflammation, there is recurrent episodes of wheezing, breathlessness, chest tightness and cough being felt by those patients. And usually these are such with a widespread bronchoconstriction. This bronchoconstriction is actually partly reversible and partly it may remain there. Regarding pathogenesis of asthma, now antigen, which is usually any protein from house dust mite or cockroach or animal danders, the molds, etc., pollen, etc., they are entering into the body and attacking to the peripheral lymphoid tissues, and from where IgE production is provoked. That IgE production actually then leads to binding with the mast cells and sensitize them. So basically this binding of IgE with the mast cells leads to release of variety of mediators including leukotrienes, prostaglandin, histamine, etc., etc., etc. Now, because IgE antibodies are genetically determined, so asthma and other allergic diseases are clusters in families. A strong family history is usually always there with the bronchial asthma. The hallmark of bronchial asthma is increased air responsiveness due to a variety of stimuli, and that lead to episodic bronchoconstriction. Bronchoconstriction coming in episodes and attacks, and there is inflammation of the bronchial valves and there is increased mucosecretion. So three things: bronchoconstriction, inflammation of bronchial valves and increased mucosecretion. These are the hallmarks of bronchial asthma. If we see bronchial tone, normal bronchial tone may be either being dilated or it is being converted to a constricted state. Bronchodilation occurs if cyclic AMP is acting at the bronchial smooth muscles, and this cyclic AMP is coming through ATP by activating through adenylyl cyclase, and more cyclic AMP is being synthesized. Bronchodilation is occurring. This cyclic AMP is then actually at the same time also being metabolized into AMP through phosphodiesterase enzyme. So if we want to maintain that cyclic AMP, we have to block this phosphodiesterase inhibitor so that no loss of cyclic AMP should be there. Usually beta agonists, which are acting as agonists at the beta receptor of the bronchial smooth muscle, are stimulating the adenylyl cyclase and producing more and more cyclic AMP and activating bronchodilation. While theophylline, those are the xanthine derivatives, caffeine-like drugs, etc., aminophylline, theophylline, etc., we will see, they inhibit the enzyme phosphodiesterase enzyme, so not converting cyclic AMP to cyclic, that's AMP. So retaining the cyclic AMP, so ultimately obviously helping in bronchodilation. Bronchoconstriction can occur through muscarinic receptor, for example through cholinergic stimulation. So if we want to avoid the bronchoconstriction, usually we block those muscarinic receptors, especially this muscarinic 3 we will see later on, and we have been seeing why we will discuss anticholinergic, antimuscarinic drugs. The same thing is happening with the leukotrienes also. Leukotrienes also producing bronchoconstriction, and if we want to avoid the bronchoconstriction, we may block these leukotrienes activity either with receptor etc. or with synthesis. So leukotriene antagonism will give. Similarly, adenosine also producing bronchoconstriction. Theophylline can block these adenosine receptors here. So here we see that theophylline is showing by two mechanisms. One, by inhibiting phosphodiesterase inhibitor enzyme above, and lower here by blocking the adenosine activity. Now let's come to the drugs used in bronchial asthma. These may be of three types. They may be simple bronchodilators, just dilating the bronchi, and anti-inflammatory agents, and leukotriene antagonist. Bronchodilators includes the most important number one group is beta 2 agonist. A long list is there: albuterol, terbutaline, metoprolol, salmeterol, etc. But for BDS, few selected names are sufficient. Anticholinergic, as we see previously, by blocking the muscarinic receptors, also produce bronchodilation, ipratropium, tiotropium. And then thin derivatives, theophylline, theobromine, aminophylline, etc., they are also producing bronchodilation. Anti-inflammatory groups include the most important was corticosteroids, because the dominant effect of corticosteroids is that they are anti-inflammatory. They may be given through inhalation, beclomethasone, triamcinolone, etc., or they may be given orally through prednisolone, or through injectable route, methylprednisolone, hydrocortisone. Other anti-inflammatory are anti-hemoglobin E type monoclonal antibodies. Omalizumab, that is up till now available monoclonal antibodies. Prophylactically used drugs, leukotrienes antagonist, as I told you, may be blocking receptors or maybe inhibiting the enzyme responsible for the synthesis of leukotrienes, lipopsin inhibitor. First blockers, receptor blocker, montelukast, zafilukast, and lipopsin enzyme inhibitor, xylitol. Then, because there was the release of mediators, so we can use those drugs also which inhibit the release of mediators, cromolyn, didochromyl. There may be some specific drugs used only to treat COPD. Beta 2 agonists can also be used, corticosteroids, ipratropium, tiotropium. They are specifically useful for the treatment of COPD. And drugs used to treat allergic rhinitis, alpha agonist, producing the agonistic activity of the vessels present in the nasal mucosa. So due to vasoconstriction, there is no exudate release, the outcoming of these from the blood vessel, dilated vessels. So no oozing, so no mucus is coming out. Antihistamines, corticosteroids, cromolyn, all can be used to treat allergic rhinitis. And drug treating cough, dextromethorphan, codeine. Now let's discuss with the beta 2 selective agonist. Important ones are albuterol, terbutaline, metoprolol, or metoprolol, probuterol. These are all beta 2 agonists. Albuterol under the brand name of Ventolin. You might have been knowing this name. These are the most widely used sympathomimetic actually, because they are agonists, so they are behaving as sympathomimetic for the treatment of bronchoconstriction of asthma. The bronchodilation produced by these drugs, maximum within 15 to 30 minutes is produced, and they may persist for 3 to 4 hours. They may be given through inhalation, like this, through inhaler, or they may be, patient may be nebulized through nebulizer. This nebulized therapy is reserved for patient unable to coordinate through inhaler. We also see a little vasodilating action of beta 2 receptor. They may increase perfusion of poorly ventilated lungs part. Remember, they are safe and effective bronchodilators if taken on an as-need basis. So when patient is feeling bronchoconstriction, only then patient will take these beta agonists. So need based for the relief of symptom. Otherwise, if the patient taking continuously risk of adverse effect of these sympathomimetic drugs is more, especially with the chronic use. Usually, low oral doses of albuterol, salbutamol, Ventolin, we have seen, Terbutal, are started to avoid adverse effects like skeletal muscle tremor, especially of hand, nervousness, and occasional weakness for the first 2 weeks of therapy. And then, if Terbutaline is given in severe asthma, especially subcutaneously or repeatedly, it may show cumulative effect. The drug may get accumulated in the body and will continue showing adverse effects. Other drugs, salmeterol is a partial agonist, and formoterol, both are long acting, but salmeterol is a partial agonist, formoterol is a full agonist. They are long acting, more than 12 hours, and both are potent beta 2 selective. Potent means less dose is required, remember. And indactrol, this is ultra long acting agonist taken once a day only, and this is reserved for the treatment of COPD. Important thing is they are only bronchodilating, has little vasodilating effect, but they have no anti-inflammatory action. So if we want to get anti-inflammatory effects also, we have to use with them corticosteroid, especially through inhalation, to improve the control of bronchial asthma. Toxicities of these beta 2 agonists, if given through inhalation, they may raise the fears of lethal cardiac arrhythmias, acute hypoxemia, if oxygen administration is less in those patients. So this is very important. Tachyphylaxis, rapid decreased response, or tolerance, slowly decreased response, both may occur with use of beta 2 agonists, even with the inhalational use. Next drug is ephedrine. Remember, it should not be mixed with epinephrine coming afterwards. So it was an old drug used about 2000 years ago in China for various purposes, including bronchial asthma. Now, compared with epinephrine, this ephedrine acts both directly and indirectly. Epinephrine was acting directly. It can indirectly also through releasing the epinephrine, norepinephrine especially, from the stool, and it has a longer duration of action than epinephrine. It can be given orally also, and more certain effects and lower potency, while epinephrine is opposite to it. Because of the development of tachyphylaxis, it is now used infrequently. Isoproterenol, it is a potent bronchodilator. Potent mean again, yes, less dose is required. Usually 80 to 120 a microgram of asphalt puff causes maximum bronchodilation within 5 minutes. Duration of action is up to 1 to 1.5 hours. And increase in the asthma mortality rate with the isoproterenol is due to cardiac arrhythmias from the high doses of inhaled isoproterenol. So we must be very careful while using this isoproterenol and even beta 2 agonists through inhalation, even in the patient having history of cardiac arrhythmia. So always take history prior to prescribing it. It is now also rarely used for bronchial asthma. Epinephrine, as I told you, please don't confuse with ephedrine. So epinephrine is an effective, rapidly acting bronchodilator and given subcutaneously, very, very low, highly potent, just 0.4 milliliter of even very diluted, 1000 times diluted solution. Or it can be given through inhalation as a microaerosol form in the pressurized canister, 320 microgram per puff. Maximal bronchodilation is achieved within 15 minutes after inhalation, and that can last up to 1 to 1.5 hours. Because epinephrine also stimulates all the receptors including alpha beta 1, so they can produce tachycardia, arrhythmias, and worsening of angina pectoris. These are the troublesome adverse effects with the epinephrine. So its use in asthma has been displaced by other safer drugs, more especially beta 2 selective agonist drugs. However, it is useful in anaphylactic bronchospasm with acute shock. It's a drug of choice, as we have seen previously while we discussed sympathomimetic or physiological antagonism. It's a drug of choice for the acute anaphylaxis in which there is severe bronchodilation seen. Methylxanthine, usually present in tea, coca, coffee, etc., etc. A long list is theophylline, theobromine, amorphine, benzpyrene, etc., etc. And theophylline is usually well absorbed when given orally through GIT. Mechanism of action: at high concentration, they inhibit the phosphodiesterase inhibitor enzyme, especially phosphodiesterase E4 type in inflammatory cells. So, obviously present in the airway smooth muscle. So that result in higher concentration of intracellular cyclic AMP, which we have seen previously in the diagram, will produce bronchodilation. In some cases, cyclic GMP in other tissues, cyclic GMP is responsible for the dilation of smooth or relaxation of smooth muscles. This inhibition reduces the release of cytokines and chemokines, resulting in a decrease in migration and activation of immune cells. The cyclic AMP is responsible for a variety of cellular function, and that includes stimulation of cardiac, apart from smooth muscle effect on bronchi, stimulation of cardiac function, relaxation of smooth muscles, reduction in the immune and inflammatory activities of specific cells. These are the effects produced by cyclic AMP. Again, diagrammatically, theophylline can inhibit phosphodiesterase inhibitor and can block the adenosine activity through blocking receptors of adenosine. As I told you, they also inhibit adenosine receptors, which modulate adrenal cyclase itself, present on the surface of these cells. They prevent provoking contraction of air smooth muscles and histamine release from air mast cells. If nausea, heartache, and diarrhea appears, then dose restriction to subtherapeutic level is done of these theophylline. Pharmacological effects on various systems. The most important was the central nervous system. In low and moderate doses, caffeine, as we have seen and we know, they can cause mild increased alertness and deferral fatigue. This is usually due to cortical arousal effect, cerebral cortex. A cup of coffee, which usually contains 100 mg of caffeine, may cause nervousness, insomnia in sensitive patients especially, and slight bronchodilation in asthma patient if he is taking. For more effective bronchodilation, the larger doses are necessary, but those may cause nervousness and tremors in some patients. Very high doses, which may be taken accidentally or incidentally or suicidal attempts, may cause mental stimulation, due to which there may be convulsions and may lead to death even. So we must not take it lightly with this xanthine derivative group, especially theophylline, etc. Effects on cardiovascular system. Positive chronotropic and iotropic effects with these drugs are seen. Positive chronotropic, heart rate increases. Iotropic, force of contraction is there. In sensitive patients, consumption of a few cups of coffee may result in arrhythmias. I am telling you repeatedly, you must keep always in your mind while you are taking these drugs any history of arrhythmias in these such patients suffering from bronchial asthma. So larger doses may relax vascular smooth muscles, as I told you. So they may also be useful in intermittent claudication. They relax the vessels, because in intermittent claudication there is actually vasoconstriction. So to produce vasodilation, we may use these, but we have to use the larger doses. So remember the adverse effects of these drugs in all the systems, including CNS, CVS also. They can also cause contraction of cerebral blood vessels. Effects on GIT. The methylxanthine, they stimulate the secretion of both gastric acid and digestive enzyme, and even if we are using so-called decaffeinated coffee, they have potent stimulative effects on secretion. Effects on kidney. Theophylline especially is a weak diuretic on the kidney, but it is not therapeutically useful, so not so strong diuretic effect. Mechanism may involve both increased glomerular filtration rate and reducing tubular sodium reabsorption. due to which we are having diuresis with this use of, and it's common observation after tea or coffee, we are feeling some sort of diuretic effects. That is due to this reason. Increased glomerular filtration rate, number one, which is more important, and reduced tubular sodium reabsorption. Effects on other smooth muscles. So bronchodilation, major therapeutic action, but other effects are also there. Skeletal muscles. The respiratory action of the muscles may not be confined to the airways only. So they may also strengthen the contraction of skeletal muscle in vitro and improve contractility and reverse the fatigue of the diaphragm, especially in patients with COPD. The effect on diaphragm. The activity of diaphragm, especially with the theophylline, ability to improve the ventilatory response to hypoxia and to diminish the dyspnea. Clinical uses of these methylxanthines. So theophylline is the most effective bronchodilator, and it relieves the airflow obstruction in acute asthma. So also reduces the severity of symptoms in chronic asthmatics. And there is improvement in the pulmonary function, especially with the plasma concentration ranging between 5 to 20 milligram per liter. Adverse effects of theophylline, etc. Tolerance does not develop, remember, with this, the type, especially theophylline. However, there may be anorexia, nausea, vomiting, abdominal discomfort, headache, anxiety, and become common at concentration greater than 20 milligram per liter. Remember, it has a narrow therapeutic window. With the normal therapeutic dose, we are going to face with the adverse effects related to CNS, CVS, this GIT, and other system, etc. Plasma clearance of theophylline varies widely, varying from patient to patient. Adverse effects in the CNS, if appears, that may require the reduction in the dosage of theophylline. Higher levels, especially more than 20 milligram per liter, may cause seizures and arrhythmias. So arrhythmias are common problem almost all the drugs used for in bronchial asthma or COPD. Next group, antimuscarinic. Mechanism of action, we know that they are blocker of the muscle. So they block the contraction of air of smooth muscle and increase in secretion of mucus. Both are reduced, and that occurs in response to vagal activity. So we block the vagal activity of the smooth muscle of airway smooth muscle and produces bronchodilation and decrease the mucosal secretion of the bronchi. So degree of involvement of parasympathetic pathway varies among subjects, depend how much cholinergic activity is more or less in that patient. Accordingly, this group may be useful or not useful or less useful. Clinical uses. Effective bronchodilator, this group is. So valuable for patient intolerant to beta 2 inhaled agonist. When given intravenously, atropine causes bronchodilation at a low dosage even, then that needed to cause increase in heart rate. So iprovopropin, however, is preferred iprovopropin because it is more selective quaternary ammonium derivative only on the respiratory system. So having less central effects. Central effects mean on the CNS, yes. So less central effects, less effects on CNS of atropine lactase we have seen previously. Iprovopropin can be given in high doses by inhalation because it is poorly absorbed, quaternary ammonium compound, so it's poorly absorbed through the air mucosal membrane, being quaternary compound. So very, very less concentration going into the circulation. So although antimuscarinic drugs appear to be slightly less effective than beta 2 agonists in reversing this bronchospasm, however, its addition with the beta 2 agonist enhances the bronchodilation. So combination of this antimuscarinic with the beta 2 agonist is having very dramatic and strong effects, strong bronchodilation, especially in acute severe asthma. Tiotropium is a longer-acting selective antipsychotic agent. It is usually approved for the COPD in asthmatic who are insufficiently controlled by inhaled corticosteroid especially.